Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another COVID-19 broadcast with TravelMole. One of our very early, if not the first interview that we did was with Dave Lorenz from Pure, Michigan, and I'm delighted to say that Dave is with us again this afternoon or this morning for David. Good morning, good afternoon, David.
Good to see you, Graham. Always good to be with you, even if it's only virtually.
Dave, when we last spoke, it was way back in March, it was 4 months ago, and obviously, hell, it's gone bananas, it's changed every day. Almost every week there is a reason to be cheerful, and then the very next day there's a reason to be slightly more depressed about the state of the world and the state of the travel industry. But when we spoke in March, you were very positive about the possibilities and the outcome for tourism, particularly in your state, in Michigan. Has the last 4 months changed your opinion at all?
Well, it's evolved, and it's had this this flow up and down, but overall, I'm actually probably more positive about the future of Michigan in the short-term future, not just the long-term future, and of the Midwest in America than I was back then. Back then, of course, there were so many things that we just simply don't know. We didn't know what was going to happen. And what we've seen since we first talked, Graham, is that Michigan, for the most part, has opened up again. We have restaurants open, all the attractions that people would expect. And as we talked before, I expected that people would come to Michigan because of all the nature experiences we have to offer. Millions of acres of forest, 11,000 inland lakes, touching on 4 of the 5 Great Lakes, which are like oceans, just fresh water. Lots of place to distance. We've had, I think, a little more definition since then about how we can keep each other safe, and that it's not really about us, it's about other people. The whole thing about wearing a face mask. We didn't know back then whether that was really going to help. In fact, we doubted that would help. We've now, discovered that, yeah, that helps a lot in making sure you don't accidentally get somebody else sick, mostly, and that distancing helps, and that proper hygiene and hand sanitizing, all those things. So when we discovered that all that stuff was a pretty good deterrent in the short term to kind of beat back this virus, and as people have learned that, it's allowed them to kind of get out of their homes and to start traveling again and to get back to, I guess we could say, a sense of normalcy, but I mean, that's probably not really very accurate. I think it's basically allowing them to do really what they need to do, because we're not meant to hibernate. We just can't stay in our homes all the time. It's just not what human beings can do or should do. It's not good for us mentally, not good for us physically. So we started by encouraging people to get outside, getting exercise, and that then expanded to getting out and doing things. We then opened up restaurants with limited capacity. We worked with the travel industry. We developed all these safety protocols. The governor asked me actually to work with the industry, and we had 352 travel professionals put together all the safety protocols for Michigan. I was so proud of this team, and they worked in every sector of the industry so that we could show restaurants what they need to do to be safe. Pools, attractions, museums, what even managers of like trail systems needed to do. So we put that all together, we posted them, and for the most part, people have really been working together to think of other people. And we've been trying during all this time to get across that message, because it is somewhat controversial. There are always those people, oh, you're not going to tell me to wear a face mask. We've been saying, well, you don't have to wear a face mask. You can stay home this year. You don't have to go somewhere. We're not making you do that. So if you feel that that's some kind of an affront to your freedom, stay home. We'll talk to you next year after a vaccine comes through. But for the time being, if you're going to travel, we expect you to do these things for each other. So that's really starting to hit, and people are really understanding that. People are traveling. Not to tell you, Graham, wow, I never expected to see the amount of travel I've seen this summer. It's helped that July has had almost perfect weather. It's unbelievable. I don't remember ever seeing a July like this. So we've had a lot of travel within the state. The businesses have all reopened again with limited occupancy, and it's been tough getting bookings. Everything's selling out. So it's as good as it can be under the situation. Our real problem has been, one of the other real problems has been getting people back to work. Our federal government and state government has made it so lucrative to stay home to keep everybody safe with the, the assistance packages. It's been hard getting people back to work. So that's now coming to an end, and people are starting to come back to work. We're starting to open up even more things. So I'm really pleased what I've seen so far. Need to make it very clear that when people travel in Michigan, they're expected to play their role in keeping each other safe. This pledge that we're all taking, we're calling it the Pure Michigan Pledge here in Michigan, and it's going really well.
Good. Well, from overseas, obviously, one gets an impression of what the whole of the country is doing. Obviously, North America and the United States of America is a huge, huge area of land. Michigan seems to have fared better than most on a state level in terms of the spread of the virus. Has that helped in your domestic marketing?
It has. You might remember that Michigan was hit hard at first because before we really knew much about this virus, we didn't know that it would hit the African American population so badly. And we have a high percentage of minorities in Michigan. We're a very diverse state compared to most states, especially in Southeast Michigan, Detroit area, where we have about 40% of our population. We were hit really hard. I personally lost 5 people that I either know well or know their partners, friends well, or worked with early on. So believe me, I know how hard and how serious this thing was. But since then, the governor and all the other people, worked together to close things down and then reopen them slowly, encouraging people to do all these safety practices. And that's really helped. It's interesting because I've been looking at our national news and I see, again, all these high levels of infection happening around the country. And, I'm a former reporter, so I try to look at things a little bit differently and try to look at all sides of an issue. And like in Florida, for instance, those numbers are high, but most of those people contracting the virus are younger people. They don't seem to be getting very sick. The real danger with them is they may not know they're sick, and then they can get somebody in their family and their circle sick. So that's why they need to be very careful, and we all need to be careful. So even though you're seeing these high numbers in America, that's a combination of a lot of seniors, especially in senior care facilities early on. States like Michigan didn't understand what was happening, and we lost a lot of people in senior care facilities, New York, other places.
Well, that would have been...
That's where a lot of those numbers came.
Sure, that would have been, pretty much the story in the United Kingdom and across the world, yeah. I would think. But in terms of getting back to the way that you're handling the tourism product, I read some research last week from Longwoods, from our friend Amir, saying that 66% of U.S. Tourists, domestic tourism, would prefer to go to a state where they insist on mask wearing, and 33% would say they would only go to a state that insists on mask wearing. Although it seems very negative, is that featured in any of your marketing?
Well, we're actually not doing any real marketing right now. We're in a strange situation that we lost our budget prior to the fiscal year, October 1 of last year, in a political dispute. Everybody expected us to get funding, including, all of our political leaders. And then just about the time they were going to get us funding, the COVID situation hit, and then that was clawed back. So we're still operating without promotional funding. And so everything that we're doing is with the working with the media, social media, on our website, michigan.org. And so it is true that the governor has put into play a mandated mask wearing policy here. So in Michigan, if you're inside, you have to wear a face mask by order of the governor. And if you're outside in busy areas, shoulder to shoulder, for instance, you need to wear a face mask. But when you're away from people, outside, all that, know that people need to to be confident that they're going to be safe when they travel. And I think that's one of the reasons that we're seeing so many people come from out of state. I tell you, Graham, I've seen so many, the typical license plates from the states nearby. But I mean, I've seen people driving into Michigan from far away states. The Canadian border is still closed, and we're a border state with Canada, with Ontario. And normally we have a lot of Ontario travelers here. Of course, so I see no Ontario plates, but I see a lot of others from America. So I think that they are coming here primarily because, they've heard the news that we're not a hot spot. No. And of course, the Pure Michigan campaign over the years has made us a bucket list location for so many people. So they're still coming.
So the governor of Michigan obviously has a fairly high profile, both domestically and now internationally. That's probably played into the hands, if you like, of the feeling of safety and the feeling of reduction of one's chances of getting coronavirus when you go to your state. Yeah, let's go forward a little bit. Let's assume that at some point in the not too distant future, probably we're talking in the early part of next year now, which sounds a bit depressing, but that's the reality of it, when you may be expecting and accepting international visitors. And
yeah, I think you're right.
And perhaps we can then talk about, that maybe your budget would be restored, but even if it isn't, the message coming out of Michigan do you think it'll be slightly different than the one going in the sense that you will be emphasizing those areas that are perhaps lesser known, and your new strapline of two peninsulas, one pure Michigan, emphasizing the fact that you can get up into the upper peninsula and really be in the wilds of America, and certainly away from a lot of crowded places?
Yeah, I think it will change somewhat, and I do expect we'll have budget October 1st, even in this really horrible situation with, so much budget going to the COVID fight. The fact is that, those of us in the industry know the return on investment that state travel promotion can provide, especially Pure Michigan. We've been one of the most successful states in the country. It's interesting that all of our peers around the country know that, but it's always so difficult to explain that to our policymakers that, no, this really does work, and we're recognized for that. So I think that assuming we get budget this coming year, you're gonna see us in the market in the UK and Germany, some other places. You might know, Graham, that China had become our #1 overseas market by volume and by spending. And it's going to be a while before China comes back, not only because of the health situation, but because of the political environment. And there are a lot of people in America who just simply don't want to see Chinese people here right now. They're mad that all this started in China, and they feel it was mismanaged. And so they, I think, inappropriately throw their ire at, anybody from China. That's going to be a little while before that calms down, but it will calm down. And eventually we'll be back in China as well. Very friendly, loving people there, and they love Americans, and they dream about the freedoms that we have in America and in the UK and other places as well. So they're going to want to come here as well, a real bucket list for them. So I'm looking forward to being back in the UK marketing wise as soon as we can, and I'm absolutely confident that probably will start around January, February, especially if we do, as I anticipate, get this vaccine. Probably about fall or winter.
And do you know if the airports, the major gateway airports, obviously the one in Detroit being the main one, but also other Midwest airports like O'Hare, etc., that would be already prepared and ready for the arrival of international visitors?
Yeah, I've been, checking out the safety protocols of just about every travel entity that I can get to around the state this last few weeks, and partially I've been going around and doing some social media and recording some short videos showing how people can safely travel and putting them on michigan.org. But I've also been inspecting the various properties and making recommendations. I'm no expert in this, but I learned a lot during that discovery period with all those experts. You learn a lot. So, and we posted all of our safety protocols on our industry website. So I'm actually going to be going to Detroit Metro International Airport next week. I'm going to look over everything, but I have talked to them. They've gone through all their safety protocols, really smart things that they're doing. I actually took a flight on the 4th of July, our Independence Day, just by chance. Perhaps you guys have heard of that. My wife and I, of all places, We flew down to Florida, if you can believe this, a real hot spot. But we actually flew down there and then immediately jumped in my mom's car and started driving her back up to Michigan because she wanted to get back up to Michigan for a lot of reasons.
That's a long
And
drive.
it's a long drive, but you know, it's about 24-hour drive from Orlando. But the thing was, I was so impressed with what I saw at, we left from the Grand Rapids Airport in Western Michigan, and then flew directly to Orlando. I was impressed with the airport protocols, with the airline. They did everything right. I was just so impressed. I would feel comfortable personally flying right now if I wanted to fly somewhere, because I'm absolutely confident the airlines have figured it out and they're doing things as safely as possible. Now you might say, how can he say that? That's my comfort level. Not everybody's going to be comfortable with flying for a very long time. In fact, I mean, I'm seeing stats that the airline business won't get back up to volumes that they had last year until 2024. I hope that's not the case, but it's a real possibility.
Well, Dave, I wish you the very, very best of luck in your pursuit. Maybe we should have another chat in 4 months' time, which will be around about, believe it or not, November, which is normally the time for World Travel Market. Whether that goes ahead or not, I don't know. Whether anybody from America will be there, I don't know. But what we can definitely do is we can have another chat. And I'd like to thank you for your time this morning. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you, Graham. Great to see you.
And you, good man. You're looking well.